Thanks for joining. We're recording this, and I'm Jim Carroll, and I'm with Matt Butler, who is the author of this product that we call Payment, Settlement, and Reconciliation. We'll start off a couple minutes on a flow diagram, and then we'll get right into the product and answer any questions. So let's imagine, as a start off, that we're in the business and we sell a machine for, say, $1,000. And right now I'm just in this Acumatica block. So I book the order and I ship it and I send out an invoice, and couple weeks later, the customer writes a check and I receipt the check and I deposit that check into Acumatica, more or less closing out the invoice as paid. And then later on, I'll do a bank reconciliation after I deposit that money in the bank and make sure, just like we do with our own checking account, that everything matches. The deal is, with e-commerce business, it's quite different. With e-commerce business, you'll have one or many websites. And each of those websites will support multiple payment types. In this example, we have PayPal, Amazon, and some authorized.net supported credit card solution. And so what will happen is, on the day of the sale, the website with this plugin will go to the merchant that provides the credit and assure that the customer has the credit and authorize the payment. And through Acumatica's e-commerce solution, an order will get booked. Let's assume that this is kind of a rapid turnaround situation and that the shipment occurs the next day. Meanwhile, in the merchant system, they're taking, and let's say we're doing, 300 PayPal orders and 500 Amazon orders and 1,000 credit card orders, so that's 1,800 orders. Meanwhile, those different merchant systems on that second day are in their business systems generating the costs and the fees. We ship the product, and then let's assume that on the third day, Amazon makes a deposit into the Acumatica user's bank. And so on with the credit card solution, and so on with PayPal. What the tool that Matt has designed does, he has generated a matching engine that automatically goes and collects that PayPal file. And maybe that PayPal file is for, as an example, $18,225. And remember, that equals 300 different orders. And Amazon is for, pick a number, $25,206.14. And that's for those 500 orders. And then the credit card might be $37,000 or $57,000 and change for the 1,000 orders. Meanwhile, in Acumatica, I have booked the order, I have shipped it, and then I've posted all those amounts for all those different merchants into a clearing account. And this clearing account won't be 2,000 orders. It's going to be all the orders from 2 days ago, 4 days ago, etc., that haven't been settled yet. And the genius of the PSR product is it collects these files to the penny, collects the orders from Acumatica, and automatically matches them. And the numbers that we've gotten from our customers, it's like almost 99% matching. So once we do the matching, we go back into Acumatica and automatically post that or create the deposit. Just like when we got the check, we said, yeah, we've received the check, and we make an entry into Acumatica. Here we're doing it, but not for one invoice, rather for the 1,800 from 3 different sources. In addition, each one of these merchants assesses fees a little bit differently. So the tool is smart enough to know how each one of the PayPal, Amazon, and the credit card assesses the fees. As an example, sometimes Amazon won't deposit the money until you've shipped complete. So if you ship the partial, and you still have an item on backlog, you're not going to have the money for that order a couple of days ago. And the PSR tool is smart enough to do that. Not only does it create the deposit and post the fees, it reconciles. So this create deposit and reconciliation process happens simultaneously. So I'm going to give it to Matt now, but the net result is if you have a moderate to a high volume e-commerce, they've got someone in accounting in the back room, and they'll be spending 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, 40 hours a week, 40 hours plus a week. So it's not unusual for this tool to replace a full-time equivalent. So that's the overview of the PSR product. We'll get right now into what occurs in the product itself. Any questions at this point? Okay, Matt, go. And yeah, you're on mute, Matt. So you take yourself off mute.
Oh. Hello, this is Matt Butler. Now that I'm not speaking to mute, I am the architect indeed of the product, or the code junkie on top of this. We're going to start with just a high level, different payment methods that have been incorporated in. We're continuing down the path. I'm just showing out of my dev environment for security reasons, but I am going to show some live activity. So at a high level, everything that comes in from the provider, whether it be FTP or APIs, there are APIs to get FTP, like with Amazon. There are FTP jobs set up with like Payment Tech or PayPal, APIs that directly interact with your Shopify site. Braintree has their own API as well. We take all of that and standardize how it functions. So just as an example, here are real generic idea. We have Shopify. It runs every day. It grabs data for this customer out of their particular Shopify site, and everything is data driven. It stores that information and disseminates it into a, we should go find the settlement, into a settlement. So in this case, I'm opening up settlements. These are for my dev environment, so they're a little older, but it basically disseminates everything down. In this case, I'm going to point out that this is a 20,000 payment deposit that came in from Shopify on a single day. In order to facilitate Acumatica's capabilities and its limitations, we have settings that can be set at the customer level that allow us to throttle it, to also limit it. So in this case, this particular customer asked us, because the deposit screens start to function kind of slow once you get over 5,000 payments, they asked us to actually set it down to 2,500 payments per deposit or something like that. So in this case, it actually broke it into pieces so that the deposit screen itself didn't choke. So I can go in and actually look for this in the bank deposits here. So here's the deposit. They ended up with $265,000. It was $2,500 payments. Now the cool thing about this is, during the dissemination of the payments, it took all of your payments from Acumatica. It matched them, it added them to the deposit. But it also summarized all of the fees. Thus, it has pulled the fees out of the settlement file and brought you to net. Now, we actually—
Excuse me, Matt, just for a moment.
Yes.
You go to the deposit file, the 271,085 in the top header. That's what the customer paid.
Right.
The 5,800 are the fees for that specific day for those, and there's probably literally 1,000 or so orders on that day. So the bank deposit total was $265 and the 226.15. So now we're asking PSR, out of thousands and thousands of orders in Acumatica, go get the ones that are specific to this deposit only and match them up to the penny.
My internet's kind of slow today. Okay, so now the net of what's going on is everything is being pulled. All of the payments are being pulled from Acumatica at a rate of about 1,000 payments per second. Those payments are then matched at a rate of about 100,000 payments. Well, let's just say 10,000, maybe 9,000 payments per second. And then it is pushed back at a rate of about 500 payments per minute into Acumatica, which means we can do a lot. I'm not going to keep throwing numbers at you. The net effect here is that no human being, and let's clear this filter, and let's look at another environment. This is a high volume of payments set a depository customer. I'm going to go over to another customer who actually has a lot of differing stores, and this is another one. So what I want to point out is anywhere you see auto PSR, no human being has touched this deposit yet, or at least done nothing to save anything. As you can see, this is actually a pretty bad day. As you can see, though, all of these balanced deposits are unattended, completed. So if I'm looking at Whitney Cummings' deposit for this day, my whole process, because they don't have automatic release on with that, because they don't have control totals turned on. The most my customer has to do on this deposit is unhold it and release it. Now, if control totals is turned on and I have the ability to make sure that Acumatica didn't burp, because Acumatica burps once in a while, and we can guarantee that my total equals my control total, we can actually auto-release as well. So at that point, no human intervention has occurred. Now, let's just take a look at maybe one of these out of balance guys here. So 4.5, I go to import bank transactions on 4.5. Let's see. What was that? Yeah. Five. You're seeing the balance of items. So if we're missing something for West Coast Customs, should be able to go find West Coast Customs here. So if I take my $35 and I'm just going to open this deposit, if I were to fix this deposit, or I was to come in here and just, I guess this was missed. 109 to 109. So basically,
Matt, could you back up just for a moment?
Yes.
So could you undo what you did there originally, the $35?
Yep.
So in this case, the deposit amount in the description was $109, but the amount managed by PSR was $74. So this is the 1% that PSR, the 2% that PSR doesn't match for whatever reason. So instead of the accounting person having to settle thousands and thousands of orders, they settle this specific one. And they know because they've got the deposit total, and they can compare that arithmetically to the amount managed by PSR. It makes hunting for that one or two or three that did not match a much easier exercise. And why would they not match? maybe within Acumatica there was a change in tax. That's a common situation that occurs. Another one could be that a credit was given in the website, but that credit amount never flowed through Acumatica. So there was a disconnect in the connection between the website and Acumatica. We've seen that a lot. So when we speak of PSR, it automates about 98% of this very cumbersome process. And then relative to the ones that don't get matched, it makes it simple for the accountant to go find the transactions that don't match and match them. So you win two ways.
Yes. So as you can see, we have a lot of out of balances that they have not addressed yet in this latest run. And from the looks of it, this one's off by about $140 to $6,000. This one's off by, I think I just checked, it was maybe a little less than $1,000 for the total of these two. So as you can see, though, 52,054 versus 68. So we're 13 bucks off. And those are where we find that, in this case, 4.3 for PayPal. I go in here and I look at 4.3 for PayPal. And I look for what was missing. Well, I got a missing receipt on something. So let's just go and look in Acumatica. Why is this missing? Well, it literally is missing. It did not come in from Shopify, but Shopify gave me money via PayPal, apparently. And so the way that works is you're going to go and operationally, you're going to find out what's going on. A lot of the time, Jim mentioned tax and things like that, but most all of our customers have experienced an enlightenment period with their connectors, their Amazon connector, their e-commerce connector. And what we found is business practices have had to change to reflect reality. And in a couple of cases, the output of PSR is actually fed into the refinement of these e-commerce connectors to be accurate. Such as a Shopify order that is then canceled after the money has been taken. Well, in Acumatica, you still took money on the 3rd, and you still gave it back on the 4th. And these deposits are affected by that. So your bank statement had that $1,385, and maybe this $1,385 is later refunded. But these are the sorts of things that it catches because it is unforgiving. Things must balance to the penny in order to get this cherished balanced flag. And if it's out of balance, it's going to tell you, and it's going to tell you what it couldn't find. And the nice thing about that is, for example, the reason I can go find this $1,385 gross and throw it into a deposit, which one was this, the 3rd? The reason I can do that is even though it could not find the payment, it still accommodated the charges. Here's another interesting rule. They have a rule for withholdings and disputes where the money is taken out while it's being disputed or put back on later. So those sorts of things are also handled.
So in this case, Matt, again, you had a $52,000 deposit in the bank, 52.54 versus 68 in the bank. So 68 minus 54 is a $14 differential. So why the differential, right? And so instead of having to deal with everything else, we have to deal with that 14 bucks. All right, kind of beating this one.
Okay, so what it's done is taken my fees out and also gone and grabbed that dispute and pulled the dispute out because the dispute is its own transaction and it may not actually correspond to a payment record. And in many cases, it comes right back on. So they don't have to deal with the flux, the ins and outs, the payment held for a day, things of that nature. They can just look at the final, like the final say at the end of the month. But that keeps all of the bank deposits very clean. And if we go and look, this customer has pretty much, I would say, 70 million of the last $91 million has been through PSR at a 90, probably a 99 or a 98.9% match rate.